Okay, look, I know it looked like cheating, but technically, I was just using the game against itself. The exploit was already there. I just found it before anyone else did.
So you cheated.
I optimized. Today, we're talking about the shocking science of why good people cheat. And the uncomfortable truth is that most of us do it. And most of us have a very convincing explanation for why it wasn't really cheating.
Mine's actually pretty convincing, though.
Chapter 1. The Perfect Storm. So what pushes a good person across that line? It's almost never just one thing. Think of it like a perfect storm. 3 powerful forces coming together at once: pressure, opportunity, and justification. When all 3 align, even the most well-meaning person can end up making a choice they never imagined they would. First up, pressure. We live in a world obsessed with performance. Grades, targets, perfect relationships. Study after study shows that when the stakes feel high, people are far more likely to cheat. Not because they're bad people, because the fear of failing can make bending the rules feel less like a moral choice and more like survival.
So it's basically the situation turning you into a different person?
Exactly. When winning becomes more important than playing fair, the rules start to look more like suggestions. And here's the thing, that pressure doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a final exam or a job on the line. Sometimes it's just the low-level, constant hum of not wanting to look like a failure. That quiet, chronic pressure is often the most dangerous kind because it's so normal that we stop noticing it's there. And that's when the second ingredient quietly walks through the door. Chapter 2. The Open Door. The second ingredient is opportunity. Pressure alone rarely tips the scale, but the moment a door is left wide open, that's when things get interesting. Psychologists call it low perceived risk. Cheating becomes far more tempting when someone believes they won't get caught, or that even if they do, it won't really matter. Think about it. An exam hall with barely any supervision. An expense report your boss will rubber stamp without looking. A partner who's emotionally checked out. And a new person at work who actually listens. In those moments, your brain has a tiny accountant running a silent, lightning-fast cost-benefit analysis in the back office. Is what I gain worth the risk?
And when the door's already open, the math just kind of solves itself.
That's exactly the problem. Research consistently shows that the same person, same values, same upbringing, same moral compass, will behave very differently depending on the situation they're placed in. We like to believe character is fixed, but the evidence suggests it's more like a muscle, and some environments make it really, really hard to use it. The context we're in can end up mattering more than the character we think we have.
That's actually kind of scary.
Which brings us to the most fascinating part, the story we tell ourselves after. Chapter 3. The fudge factor. This is where it gets really interesting. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely calls it the fudge factor. The idea is simple. Most people don't go for big, elaborate schemes. They just cheat a tiny bit, fudge the truth just enough to get a small benefit, but not so much that they have to look in the mirror and call themselves a cheater. It's like being on a moral diet. You might sneak a single cookie from the jar, but you won't eat the whole box. That one cookie gives you the reward without blowing your self-image. And here's the key insight. Our conscience isn't an on-off switch. It's a dimmer. We don't plunge ourselves into total moral darkness. We just turn the lights down, just enough.
Okay, that dimmer thing is low-key terrifying.
And the dimmer has a remote control. It's called rationalization. Everyone does it. The system's rigged anyway. I had no choice. They kind of had it coming. These aren't excuses we make up lazily after the fact. They're pre-built psychological escape routes our brain has ready to go, sometimes before we've even made the decision. Studies actually show that signing an honor code before a task, not after, makes people cheat significantly less because it closes the psychological loophole before they even reach for it. It forces the story to start in the right place.
So the story has to start before the cookie.
Every time. Now, where does this actually show up in real life? Chapter 4. 4 arenas, 1 engine. The same pattern. Pressure, opportunity, justification, plays out in almost every corner of life. In school, the pressure for good grades, the chance of an unmonitored online test, and the justification. I need this for my future. At work, an impossible sales quota, a lack of oversight, and I'm underpaid anyway. The company won't even notice. In gaming, the desperate urge to win, an exploit sitting right there. And everyone else is already doing it. I'm just leveling the field. And in relationships, feeling neglected or unseen, a new person who finally pays attention. And the justifications get deeply personal from there.
That last one hits different.
Because it's where the stakes are highest, and the justifications get the most sophisticated. Nobody tells themselves they're a bad person. They tell themselves a story where they're actually the reasonable one, even the victim. In all four of these arenas, the basic psychological engine is humming along in exactly the same way. Pressure builds, an opportunity appears, the brain runs the calculation, and the story clicks into place. And once you see that engine, you can't unsee it.
So what do we actually do with that?
Chapter 5. What this actually means for you. Understanding this science doesn't excuse cheating. The damage caused by dishonesty is real in classrooms, companies, and relationships. But what it does offer is a more honest picture of how humans actually work. The line between right and wrong isn't a wall, it's a tightrope that all of us walk every single day. The story of why good people cheat isn't really about a lack of morals. It's about the power of pressure, the pull of opportunity, and our brain's astonishing ability to bend reality to protect the image we have of ourselves. Knowing this doesn't let anyone off the hook. It makes the real moral test much clearer. It's not about avoiding some obvious, dramatic evil. It's about noticing the small fudges, the quiet rationalizations, and the tiny dimmer adjustments we make every day.
So the goal is basically to catch yourself before you reach for the cookie.
And to notice when the pressure is building, when the door is swinging open, and when a very convenient story starts forming in your head. Because that's the moment. Not some dramatic crossroads, just a quiet, ordinary moment where you're about to turn the dimmer down a notch. That's where the real choice lives.
And most people don't even realize that moment is happening.
Most people never do, which is exactly why understanding this isn't about judging others. It's about knowing yourself well enough to catch it before the story writes itself.
I think I Optimized was a pretty convenient story.
Most of our best stories are.
So I did cheat.
Have you ever caught yourself bending the rules and then telling yourself a very convincing reason why it was fine? Tell us in the comments, because the most honest answers are always the most interesting ones.